and welcome to the first post-sabbatical midweek devotion with Pastor Andrew. That's me. So I went to edit everything because it was all wonderful, and I had this really great introduction to this first post-sabbatical weekly devotion, and my phone, which I'm using right now, cut out. I thought it just cut out or whatever, but it just didn't record at all. So there was a whole, and maybe you like this, there was a whole 6 minutes of stuff that just didn't make it. So I'm remaking it. Let me get to where I am. Give me a second here. So here we go. We move into this time. I'm trying to remember what I said. So we're moving into this time, or we're in this time of Pentecost or ordinary time, but there's nothing ordinary about it. Haha, Pastor Andrew. But it's a time of our lives during the church year where it kind of makes sense why a lot of my peers maybe do sermon series, because especially the reading through this coming Sunday, they are just, I read them and I'm like, geez, what am I going to preach about there? Where's the gospel in this? It's there, but you got to dig a little bit to find it. Anyway, we're going to focus on Amos 7, verses 7 through 15. It's a bit of a call story. Amos has already been called a little bit here. I mean, you're kind of called or not called, but to do what he had to do in terms of being a prophet. But it's this beginning of the beginning of his ministry, which is difficult. I can't remember if it's in the other part of this, so if this is a repeat, I'm sorry. But you have the kingdoms. I think that's what was cut out. You have, that's what was cut out. What's happening is you have Israel, that was one, and then I believe it's the north, because they are right by all these other empires like Babylonia, etc. And everyone's like, well, they're gods and they're doing all these awesome things, and we're kind of in the midst, not necessarily suffering, but their life seems a lot better, and I kind of like that. That really appeals to me, and it's kind of where's our God now? There's turmoil, there's disagreement, which led to the one kingdom becoming two. All these things are happening, and that's a lot of what the prophets of the Old Testament were dealing with. We're dealing with, we think of Isaiah. We talk about Isaiah as one book, but it's really kind of three, because it covers the Babylonian exile, which is over 100 years or about 100 years. And, how could someone be alive for all that? Anyway, separate that. But it's, all these things are happening. All this turmoil is happening. And in the midst of that, it's well, where's God? And the answer to that from these other empires is oh, God's right here. Look, our God, Baal, this bull is strong, and we're conquering, and look at our empire, and everyone's rich, and everyone's doing great. And it's well, I want to be a part of that. But they forget, and they detach from Yahweh, right? They detach from God, God of gods, right? God. So there's a lot that in my intro that's not in here, but we focus on Amos 7. And then this is what the Lord showed me. The Lord stood beside me, beside a wall built with a plumb line in his hand. And the Lord said to me, Amos, what do you see? And I said, a plumb line. And then the Lord said, see, I am setting a plumb line in the midst of my people Israel. I will never again pass them by. The high places of Isaac shall be made desolate, and the sanctuaries of Israel shall be laid waste. And I will rise against the house of Jeroboam with the sword. So King Jeroboam is the one that is leading. He's their king. They're not part of this other empire, but they're their own. But they're really leaning that way. The government's kind of leaning that way. So there's this plumb line, and I imagine that's that line between the northern and southern kingdom. The other thing I mentioned here, it's just very difficult as we read these things, and I don't know, maybe it's just me. We continue to see parallels and just how cyclical the world is, as we think about right now and just everything going on over there, too, right? There's these conflicts, other conflicts. Where's our place in the world, not only as a country, our country, but other countries? Where should we be? What should we do? All those things that we hear about on the television or read about them or what have you. It's just that reminder. All these things are cyclical, and it's like, break the cycle. I sit on my couch sometimes, and I'm like, why can't we break the cycle? So anyway, we do that. We think about this, have this in mind, and then we move forward. So I hope this is a good transition. Not really, but let's get back to it. My video cut out, so I'll have to splice that together. So again, Jeroboam being the king, and we go back to this, verse 10. Then Amaziah the priest of Bethel sent to King Jeroboam of Israel, saying, Amos has conspired against you in the very center of the house of Israel. The land is not able to bear all his words, for thus Amos has said, Jeroboam shall die by the sword, and Israel must go into exile away from his land. And Amaziah said to Moses, O seer, go, flee away from the land of Judah, earn your bread there, and prophesy there. But never again prophesy at Bethel, for it is the king's sanctuary, and it is a temple of the kingdom. Then Amos answered Amaziah, I am no prophet, nor a prophet's son, but I am a herdsman, and a dresser of sycamore trees. And the Lord took me from following the flock, and the Lord said to me, Go, prophesy to my people Israel. So what's happening here? Lots of conflict. Amos has been called to go and prophesy, and he's done that. And he's really being told, yeah, don't come around here anymore. I get the song of, I get that Tom Petty song in my head when I say that. Don't come around here no more, right? We don't want to hear it anymore. Go over there. And, but what also happens in here is Amos hears that word, which is important for us to hear. Amos hears that word, you are a prophet, and he's like, whoa, back up. No, I'm just a herdsman, and I know God and God knows me, but don't slap me with that label. Do we not relate to that? Oh, you're this, you're that. Oh, you're a Christian, whatever, you're a Lutheran, but what does that mean to us? And are we hesitant? As I have said throughout my whole ordained ministry, one thing that's difficult, and every once in a while I throw it in a sermon or whatnot, I'll be like, we're all theologians. And I can watch people squirm because they're like, oh no, that's not me. But we are. We are because we're engaging our faith. Yes? Do we dare to take that step to explore what is our faith to us? How does it move us, shape us? It's that interaction. This is theology. And then where's God in that, right? Where's God in that? Where's God in this faith? What is our relationship like? Pondering these things make us theologians, make us disciples, right? Make us apostles who are sent, right? Disciples, apostles, sent in the name of God with the word, with the gospel to spread it and to live it. But sometimes we have a bit of resistance to that. Yes, it can happen, right? It does. So our devotion writer says this. All of this week's readings emphasize listening carefully for God, who calls us to speak God's message boldly and lovingly. Today we read that Amos spoke God's prophetic message, but he resisted the label prophet. He said, I am no prophet, I am a herdsman. Like Amos, some of us may say, I am no prophet. I am a fill in the blank. We might ask God, who? Me? You want me to prophesy? To prophecy? However, just as God told Amos, go and prophesy to my people, God calls each of us to share prophecies with our neighbors. I think that word too also gets a lot more weight than it needs to. Prophesy means really just living, being like, this is how I understand this, this is how I'm living, and perhaps a way to approach that, as it says with our neighbors who maybe we're conflicting with, or even if we're not, it's just like, as we're living simply as the example or as the person that we are, as I said in my sermon, be you, you, and all that is you, because really only we know what that you entails, right? Everything that it entails. I think that, again, getting back to my point, it gets to that we hear that prophecy. Oh, no, prophet, it leads to prophet. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a prophet. We don't necessarily call each other prophets anymore. And if someone says that man or that person is a prophet, we tend to give great weight to that. Or more likely we go, what? There are, there's no prophets and there's all these roads we could go down with that. But I think that gets a little more weight than we give to it anymore. It does carry weight with it, but what is it meaning here? It means just being that way and living that way and learning. Again, it's that engaging of faith. It's that humbleness. It's that, this is what I believe, but, we need to be open to, well, can this not necessarily morph into something else, but how does that, what is this road that we're walking, right? What is this road that we're walking? And when we find something that kind of, gives us pause, how do we deal with that? This is where we're engaging our faith. This is where we're theologians. This is where we're talking about what do we believe and why do we believe it, which is something we must constantly be doing, yes? Yes. Like I'm asking this question, and, I say all this because that's exactly what I'm doing. I need to do. Oh, look at that. See? God calls each of us to share prophecies with our neighbors. Although prophecy can seem like a daunting word, it simply means to communicate messages of warning or hope about future events. Yeah. It's like, hey, I think about being a parent, and it's like, or a son, or what have you, and just be like, so, I think about being a parent and just being like watching my children, having to make these decisions in their 20s, and it's like, yeah, it's like they need to make these decisions. I can't make those decisions for them. They need to live their life. And it's like, well, I can say, here's my thoughts, but I don't have control over what they listen to, right? It all comes back to so many of the same things. Communicate messages of warning or hope about the future. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, well, have you thought about this? We certainly can proclaim the message that everyone, all of us, will receive abundant grace when we seek God's forgiveness. That's a life-changing prophecy we should share. Yeah, so see, it does. It all comes back to it. It's like no matter what, God is with us. God is walking with us. We need to remember that. How do we know that? Through Christ. And everything that Christ said and he taught, and now as we are entrusted in this season of us, right, this ordinary time, although there's nothing ordinary about it, that's what this is about, right? We think about the church year, and why is this season so long? Because it's like, all right, here's the foundation, here's everything, right? That's what we hear in all these other seasons of the church. But now, in this season of Pentecost, it's really a season of, okay, here's life. Here's those lessons. Remember when I said this? Remember when we heard this? Hey, do you remember this? This is life. We're living it. But how are we living it? That's the engagement of this season. So, lots to think about. Lots to think about as we continue to walk through on these warm days. Gorgeous days, but warm, right? Thank God for this right here. I can't tell you how fast I threw that in the window when I came back. Because you know what? It gets hot in this building. It gets hot in this building. And not because all the hot air that comes from this office. So, you know, as we move forward in these weeks, and I know it's a time of relaxation for us. It's summer. A lot of us, you know, I mean, with kids out of school and just, you know, that kind of thing, it's just, it can change us, you know. We go to see the grandkids, we go and we talk to our kids a little bit more, we engage people a little bit more, we sit in the air conditioning. Now is kind of that vacation time. Although as I get older, and the weather gets colder, and I'm like, I want warmer weather. I guess other times become vacation time. I guess any time is vacation time, isn't it? But that's kind of our mentality of these months of just going and doing what we can because we can get out where we are and do things. So as we get into that kind of relaxation, let us also keep in mind that we must continually be engaging our faith in all that we do. We cannot forget it. As I said in my sermon, it's too easy to forget or to find ourselves detached from the fact that God is walking with us and the Spirit is at work. So lots there. I hope these videos came together as I prepare to edit them. So until next week or this Sunday, God bless.